A little bit of a prehistory lesson. Hey everyone, Templar74 here with another episode of Day in the Life of Templar74 podcast. And I gotta be honest with you guys, I was debating on what I wanted to do with this episode. The first episode I talked about my police escapades. Second episode I talked a little bit about my EMS life and a day in that. I wanted to do something different for this episode. And I got to thinking about it, and I looked at the time of year and my audience demographics, and I decided to go ahead and tell you guys a little bit about basically what I did before I got in my two current jobs. I know I really didn't want to do this episode, to be honest with you, but I just thought that maybe this episode might inspire some people or give you some ideas. But anyway, I'm rambling and we'll talk about it. So anyway, let's move on. So anyway, I graduated high school and my parents, God bless them, were very supportive of everything that me or my siblings did. But the one rule they were always strict about was as soon as you graduated high school, you were going to get a job. That was your ultimatum. You were either going to go to school, get a job, or get gone. And that was one thing my parents were really strict about. They weren't strict on a lot of things, but that was one thing they were strict about. And, you know, deep down, I truly respect it. But anyway, so I was sitting there thinking, last few weeks of high school, what was I going to do? Was I going to go to college? Was I going to go into the military? Was I just going to get a job in retail like all my friends did? What was I going to do? And so I'll be honest with you guys, once I graduated high school, I worked in retail briefly, maybe for like a month or so, and then I was like, nope, I can't do it. So I left that and I started doing some odd jobs just around town to make money, and you know, I did all right. I would work at different places for a while and I would just kind of drift, and finally I ultimately decided that I was going to go to school because after talking to a military recruiter, and I'll be honest, the military was a very tempting option just based off my family history. My brother's a tank mechanic, my cousin flies jets, my grandpa was a World War II veteran, my dad was a Vietnam veteran, and my great-grandpa was a World War I veteran and a Medal of Honor recipient. So military seemed like maybe it'll work. Went and talked to the recruiter, realized the military probably wasn't the best fit for me, so that option went out the window. And then I decided that I was going to go into college to get my EMS degree because I decided I wanted to work in medicine. Now, I'll be honest with you guys, when I went into college, EMT school arguably was hard enough. Well, paramedic school was hard, but I was also getting my associates in paramedicine. So you're basically working on two different degrees at the same time, which was really, it was hell. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It was hell. But I still needed to do something to support myself, and I had just turned 21 at this point. So in Illinois, when you turn 21, you can hold a commercial driver's license, and I actually went to work for the school district. I went to work for the school district as a bus driver. And I know you're probably thinking you are out of your mind trying to go to college and being a bus driver. But hear me out. I will say this. Being a bus driver was not the worst job I ever had. It definitely wasn't the best job I ever had, but it wasn't the worst job I ever had either. And I'll be honest with you. If you're going into school, that might be a good bet for you if you're in college, because I did a lot of my schooling online. I did 1 day a week where it was in person because you had labs, but the rest of the time you were doing your classes online. So really 4 days out of the week, I was sitting at home most of the time. Being a school bus driver, I basically got paid $22 an hour to come in, drive the kids to school, and then I had a long time during the day to where I could do my classes, and then I drive another couple of hours, $22 an hour, come home. It wasn't a bad gig at all by any stretch of the imagination. And then you would do trips, or I would do trips rather, where you'd take the kids to games or field trips or whatever, and you got paid to sit from the time you left to the time you got back. So I would take my laptop with me and I would actually be getting paid to do my schoolwork online. So, I mean, it wasn't a bad gig by any stretch of the imagination. And, you know, there were also middays, and there were some days where I was pulling 6-7 hours a day driving a bus, being on duty, but I was also getting school done, and I was making pretty good money. So, you know, it may seem crazy, but like I said, it wasn't the best job I had. It wasn't the worst job I ever had. But alas, once I did complete college the first time around, my first associate's degree, and I got my paramedic license and I went to work, that's when I met Kelly. And you guys may or may not know, I'm not even 30 yet. I'm going to be 30 here in a few weeks, but I've already been married and divorced, and I'm not even 30 yet. That, I know that's kind of sad, but I met Kelly at school, and I'll be honest, we were kind of at each other's throats to begin with. We ended up getting hired at the same hospital right about the same time, and people were basically making the joke that we were pretty much married to each other because we would be working just about every single shift and yada, yada, yada. And eventually it just kind of turned into, well, screw it. And ultimately ended up trying it. Didn't work. And yeah, long story short, it was probably the worst mistake I ever made in retrospect, but still on good terms. We still talk. I still get Christmas cards from her parents every year. So, I mean, I guess it wasn't all bad. But alas, like I said in my paramedic video, you really don't make enough as a paramedic. I was actually, funnily enough, making more money driving the school bus than I was in being a paramedic. Sure, I had more hours a week, but when it came to per hour, there were some weeks where I'll be honest, I was making more an hour driving the school bus, but with less hours. But there were some weeks driving the school bus, I was getting enough hours in that I was debating on whether I wanted to stay a paramedic or if I wanted to quit and just go back to driving a school bus. So, you know, that there was that. But ultimately, I just decided to go back to school once again and try to get another degree so that I could get a different job. And that's how I ultimately ended up getting the two professions I had now. So, yeah, anyway, long story short, that was pretty much the prehistory of Templar74. Like I said, I wanted to do another episode of this, but I was kind of stuck on what I wanted to do. And I just figured maybe this would kind of help sort things out and, you know, maybe give some people some inspiration on some things they're not thinking about. Like I said, people may think I'm crazy, but driving a school bus arguably was not the worst job I ever had. It wasn't the best, but it wasn't the worst either. And there were some times where it was pretty decent money, not going to lie. Do I miss the job? Really? I'll be honest. I loved the kids. I liked the job. I didn't like the management where I was at, but that's pretty much everywhere. If I did have to go back to driving a bus, I wouldn't be too upset about it, to be honest with you. But anyway, I'm rambling, and that's pretty much what I've got for this episode. Like I said, it was short, sweet, but I wanted to do something for you guys. So anyway, in the comment section down below, let me know what your guys' thoughts are, and just let me know if you guys have been to school. What did you guys do in college to make money if you're that age? Are you getting ready to go to college? What are your ideas on what you're going to do as a career? Just let me know in the comment section down below, because as always, I enjoy hearing from you. All right, everyone, as always, Templar74 signing off. Have a great day, everybody. I'll talk to you all next time. Goodbye, everybody.